Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It is so good to see you again today. Thank you so much for all of the interaction on the video yesterday, about 1,000 comments already and rolling. I made one point in that video that I wanted to unpack a little bit. I unpacked it again this morning on Twitter and I got literally hundreds of direct replies. So I know it's something that people feel strongly about, but it was this idea, and I think I need to unpack it a little bit more because I didn't do it justice because I was trying to cram it into that long video yesterday. But it was this idea that I firmly believe, and it's that Adept Trials guns should not be locked behind flawless passages, okay? I know that's a big claim, but I want you to hear me out on it, and there's a lot to unpack here because it has a lot of trickle-down effects on other things like the matchmaking systems, like the other rewards in the pool, all that stuff. But before I do that, just a quick polite reminder that I am partnered with Flaviar this month, bringing quality whiskey to your door for less money. So if you want to use my links in the description and the pinned comment and use code TrueVanguard when you check out there to get 10% off your order. If you get the Flaviar welcome box, it's a sampling kit where they have bourbon, scotch, and rye all in there. And I'm shooting for next Tuesday night. I'll be doing a live stream where I'll do a guided tasting with you, talk about the difference between the different kinds of whiskey, the distilleries that made them, what they're about, what stills they use, how they barrel age, all that stuff. And that'll be a really fun stream to do with you guys. So if you get that, we'll go through it together. But moving on to the topic at hand, Trials loot, Adept loot. This is huge. Let me start out by saying I don't think the player population in Trials is as bad as people make it sound. I mean, close to 500,000 people played Trials this weekend. I mean, that's a lot of people playing Trials, no doubt about it. But I do think that we can do better. Trials is good, but it could be better, right? I think we can do better, and one of the ways that I think we can make Trials even better is if we unlock the Adept guns in the Lighthouse for people who didn't go flawless. And I know that that is immediately going to trigger some dramatic responses from people, whether they're on the yes train or if they're on the I hate you, True Vanguard train.
I want him dead. I want his family dead. I want his house burnt to the ground.
We're going to get a mix of both reactions here. But I do want to say that my ideas are not all about cheapening flawless passages. I would actually like to enhance flawless passages, and I'll get into that too. But let's start at the beginning. I think that Adept guns should be approachable and obtainable for people who get 7 wins. So if you get 7 wins on your passage, you should be able to go to the Lighthouse. Saint 14 celebrates you. Welcome to the Lighthouse, Guardian. You have tested your mettle against many teams, you know? And you open up that chest, and out comes an Adept gun, whatever the Adept gun is for that week. You get one of them, you got to go to the Lighthouse. And now for a lot of players, this is a challenge. One of the very first things that I see in terms of pushback to this idea is that people are like, well, we don't like handouts. I don't want to cheapen Adept weapons to just hand them out for free. And I want to address that idea for a second. I do not think that this is free. For a lot of players, getting to 7 wins on a passage is a genuine challenge. And so for a player like me, or maybe you watching this video, maybe you go flawless all the time. Maybe it's 45-minute time investment for you and your friends to go to the Lighthouse. You queue up a card, you get 7 wins flawlessly, you go to the Lighthouse, you get your loot. And you're like, I don't want everyone else to have as easy of a time as it is for me and my buddies. And I understand that, but I don't think it would be free, because for you that happens in 45 minutes. But for a lot of people, getting 7 wins means getting 21 losses. They have a 33% win rate in the Trials of Osiris. So for every 1 game that they win, they lose 3. And so for some people, getting 7 wins on a passage is a significant time investment. It means that over the weekend, they are carving out, 2.5 to 3 hours to get to 7 wins on their passage. So this idea that it's free, that it's a handout, I think cheapens all of the pain they had to endure to complete that many matches to get to those 7 wins. And so I think that in that sense, they have earned the right to get that Adept gun because they have been through the crucible. You were the grinder, they were the ground, okay? You went into the Trials of Osiris and you ground 7 teams down into the ground and you got your loot. But for other players, they're the thing at the bottom of the crucible getting pounded, right? So I think they earned it in that sense. But does that mean that we should not have flawless rewards? I don't think so. I think In terms of rewarding players who go flawless, I want flawless to be meaningful. I want it to be a goal for all players. So what do we do about that? We know that Bungie has significantly increased the size of their studio and the size of their workforce. I think it is a very fair thing for the community to ask, hey, would you dedicate some more manpower and time to creating unique armor ornament sets that are just unique to flawless passages, so that when you open up that chest at the lighthouse, if you went flawless, maybe you're gonna get the helmet, you know, and you're like, oh sweet, I got this really sick Trials helmet ornament. I want to collect the full set, you know. And so every week you want to go flawless. You want to complete your armor set, and you want to have the full ensemble. And on top of that, maybe there's a Trials shader that is unique to going flawless, that is a rare drop, you know, kind of like the ship and the sparrow and the ghost shell are right now. So, and that's another thing, emblems, ships, ghost shells, sparrows, these are great cosmetic rewards that you can lock behind a flawless passage that players are going to want to chase. And so if you infuse the flawless loot pool with enough things to chase, people will still want to do it. So ultimately, I think that this would increase the number of people engaging with Trials, not just engaging with it during the week 1 or 2 times in terms of like just playing a couple of matches and then realizing I'm getting my butt kicked, this isn't fun, I'm not going to do it. But that counts on Destiny Trials report as a player who engaged with Trials, so that number goes up. So I think it looks healthier than it actually is. So I would like people to stay in Trials over the weekend and really engage with it on a deeper level. And I think that the more people that do that, the more fun Trials is going to be, because matchmaking systems can really operate much more effectively when there's a healthy player pool to pull from. Now, a lot of people who engaged with this idea on Twitter and on my last video made the argument that Adept loot should be hard to obtain and that you should have to go flawless in order to get an Adept gun. And I don't actually agree with that sentiment. I think that Adept guns are, they're a nice luxury to have, for sure. But I don't think that they're so prestigious that they have to be hard to obtain. I think crafted weapons, a lot of times crafted weapons can surpass what an Adept weapon can do, because you don't have to worry about getting the exact roll that you want. You can craft it all and then get the enhanced perks as well. So I'm not sure that they are so prestigious that they should require a flawless passage to obtain. And I would also like to remind people that even an average PvE team can go into a Grandmaster Nightfall and get it done in half an hour, you know, 35, 40 minutes if they're going really slow. They can get it done. But that same team could go into Trials and bang their head against a wall for hours and hours and hours and never go flawless. I think that there is a difficulty level difference. And this isn't me crapping on PvE. I definitely respect that there are some people who are insanely good at PvE and they have it down to a science. I think it's a different kind of difficulty though. With these PvE activities that are endgame, a lot of times it's about having the right tools for the job. So even my son can complete raid encounters. He's 8 years old. But if he has the proper tools and he knows what the mechanics are, he can do it. And Grandmasters are the same way. As long as you've got your anti-champion mods unlocked, your power level's high enough that you can engage with that content, most people can get that stuff done. And it doesn't take as long as it would take them to get to 7 wins on a Trials passage. For most people, for most average players, getting a Grandmaster Nightfall done is probably a lot shorter than getting to 7 wins on a Trials passage, which would most likely take a couple of hours. So I don't think that those two things are exactly as comparable as people like to think that they are. But this does affect other parts of the Trials economy, right? So what do you do then about card-based matchmaking? If all you have to do is get to 7 wins to get your Adept gun, what do we do about card-based matchmaking? Because that wouldn't exactly work as well, and I totally agree. I think that the matchmaking system in Trials needs to be reworked in general. I think that there needs to be outlier protection so that a team that has an average elo that is considerably lower than another team, they shouldn't match. I think that any time that the average elos on each team are so widely different, they just shouldn't match each other. So I do think that there does need to be, I'm going to get crucified for this, very soft skill-based matchmaking in Trials of Osiris. Very soft. I mean outliers. That's all I mean when I say that. I don't mean that you should match people exactly your skill level. You should get some variety, I think, in Trials of Osiris, but you should never be put in a match where there's absolutely no way that your team could lose, or on the flip side, there's absolutely no chance that your team could win. That shouldn't happen. So I do think that should be a thing. Also, you shouldn't be having card-based matchmaking anyways if this is the system that we're going to go with, because you say you do have a team that has 6 wins on their passage. They just need 1 more in order to get their Adept loot and go to the Lighthouse, but they've lost 30 games, okay? They should not be matching a team that is 6-0. So I do think card-based matchmaking would have to go. I also think the flawless pool, follow me on this one, I think the flawless pool should go. But if you are a person who went flawless, you got 7 wins on your card, if you continue to play on that card, I think you should match other people at 7 wins, because these are people who are definitively trying to farm for extra Adept drops. Just like right now, if you're playing on a 7-win passage, you can get more Adept drops. I think that it would be fair to say, let's get rid of the flawless pool, but if you intend to continue to grind for Adept loot, you're in Trials to grind, then you should be in a separate pool because your card is full. You've already got the 7 wins on it, and you're just there for the loot. So I think that that's how we kind of keep the flawless pool to a certain degree. But if you decide to reset your passage, you want to go flawless all over again, then you should be able to do that. But then I want to play with my son for the weekend, you know what I mean? I should be able to do that without putting him into a pool where he has no shot. So keep it to an extent, but make it so that you can pull yourself out of that pool if you reset your card. Another interesting idea that someone proposed is that maybe if you don't go flawless, maybe you should still get that Adept gun, like I said, but raise the win count. So maybe it's like if you go flawless 7-0, you can go straight to the Lighthouse. But if you are on your 7th game and you lose it, and now you're 6-1, maybe in order to go to the Lighthouse, you just need 9 wins total. So it's like, well, I can still get it. It's just going to take a little bit more time. You're like, oh, bummer, we lost the flawless match. We got to get 3 more wins on the passage before we can go. Instead of just saying, now we have to reset the passage, you know what I mean? Like the current system, we got to reset the passage and win 7 straight, because it is really demoralizing to lose that 7th game. And there's a lot of different reasons it can happen. Maybe you got DC'd, maybe you got error coded. I got error coded out of my 6th match on one of my passages this past weekend. So I understand that other things sometimes happen. So ultimately, what am I proposing? If I had to boil it down, essentially it's this. I think Adept guns should be obtainable even if you don't have a flawless passage. You should be able to go to the Lighthouse. If you meet the criteria, you earned your 7 wins. Even if it took you 30 losses, you earned your 7 wins. It's not a handout. You should go to the Lighthouse, get your 1 Adept drop. If you go flawless, you should get Adept loot faster and more consistently. You should get 2 out of the chest, or maybe they make it like the vendors right now, where if you go flawless, you get a 2nd row of perks. So your chances of getting that god roll you want are better. Maybe that's the trade-off. But either way, you should get more access to Adept guns. You should get more of them. But you should also have unique cosmetic rewards that are desirable come out of that flawless chest as well. So there is something to distinguish you from the guy that went 30 losses for his 7 wins. You should be distinguishable based on how your character looks, what ship they're flying in, what sparrow they've got equipped, what shader they have on their guns and their armor. Those are the things that should distinguish you, in my opinion. And that's basically it. What do you think about any and all of the things that I presented? I know there's lots of different options that I presented there today. What do you think? How do you feel about this? Please be respectful. I know this is a hot topic, and I know that I have a ray of sunshine shining right into my side right now, and it's throwing up the green screen, and it looks weird. I apologize. My home we're on the tail end of it, but we're in a big home edition project. If I were to turn the camera, you'd see a sheet of plastic, and there's a whole new part of the house being built right here, which is why my streams have been less frequent, because I've got contractors in and out of the house all the time right now. Neither here nor there. What do you think? How do you feel? Give me some feedback in the comment section. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Thanks so much for tuning in. Be warm and well fed, my friends. And I hope to catch you in the Crucible. And check the links below for some Flaviar whiskey deals. Bye-bye.